At 6 p.m., we'll call the February 13th, 2023 City of Geneva Council meeting to order. And tell us when you're ready. A roll call, please.
Barbeau.
Here.
Rosebrook.
Here.
Bear.
Here.
Griffiths.
Here.
Tara.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Cordova.
Here. We'll stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our prayer.
Heavenly Father, grant us hearts and minds of all who represent us as leaders, may be filled with all that is honest and righteous. May they be worthy stewards of your faithful gifts and work for good of all. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
Amen.
That brings us to approval of minutes for January 23rd, council meeting, the last regular meeting. Are there any corrections to be made in the minutes? Or if not, can I have a motion to approve those, please?
So moved. Second.
Roll call when you're ready.
Rosebrook.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Griffiths.
Yes.
Tara.
Yes.
Baker.
Abstain.
Cordova.
Yes.
Barbeau.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda is police department promotions. Chief Camper, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gentlemen of the council, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Today is a very important, excuse me for a second, and a wonderful day for the police department. It's been a while since we've had sergeants or any kind of promotion, and I am proud of the two members that I will be promoting sergeant today. Officer Gonzalez. Sean Gonzalez has been a police officer in the state of Ohio since 2008. He's a 2008 graduate of Kent State University Police Academy and became a full-time Geneva police officer in 2009. He became a part-time police officer in 2009. Sean then became a full-time police officer in 2014. During that time, he has served and continues to serve as our primary FTO, and he likes to mentor all the younger officers. He's been voted by his peers as Officer of the Year on numerous occasions. And today's a very, very great day. Captain. Mr. Workett, come here, please.
Officer Gonzalez, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Sean Gonzalez. Swear that I will support the Constitution. And obey the laws. Of the United States. And the state of Ohio. That I will. In all respects. Observe the provisions. Of the Charter. And ordinances. Of the City of Geneva. And will faithfully discharge. The duties of the position. Of Sergeant. Effective February 13, 2020. February 13th.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we're doing right now is changing his collar brass from silver to gold as a symbol of supervision and leadership. Mr. Gonzalez. This is Sean's father. He's going to be pinning his sergeant's badge on him.
Probably the most important person in my life.
Officer Cahill. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Cahill has been a peace officer in the state of Ohio since 1997. He was a graduate of the Cleveland Heights Police Academy and became a full-time police officer in Geneva in 2000. During that time, he's been a K-9 officer, detective, served on several drug task force teams, and is our primary investigator. He, too, has been voted as Officer of the Year on numerous occasions by his peers. Mr. Burkhead?
Mr. Cahill, if you would please raise your right hand. I, Christopher Cahill,
I, Christopher Cahill,
swear that I will support the Constitution
swear that I support the Constitution
and will obey the laws
and obey the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Ohio,
and the state of Ohio,
that I will,
that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the Charter and ordinances
of the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Geneva,
of the City of Geneva,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the position
the duties of the position
of Sergeant,
of Sergeant,
effective February 13th, 2023.
effective February 13, 2023.
Tell me if you do the honors, please. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Barquette, members of the City Council, I present to you Sergeant Sean Gonzalez, Sergeant Chris Cahill. A round of applause.
And that brings us to the department presentation. Our department. Thank you.
Really, it has nothing to do with the excitement of your presentation. I'm sure that it does. It is recorded though, right?
Let me preface this by basically introducing that, as you all well know, we have David Bishop Ocean did a great job over there. Casey O'Brien is going to be a great one to continue on as the judge of Walker County. He's already got a state but he's doing quite well in his he's going to be excellent to have us with this. I have asked Judge O'Brien if he would sit down with me along with the county prosecutor, because basically the only problem I've had in the past has been scheduling. The court usually schedules cases on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but they've been spread out so much that makes it difficult. For instance, I have a case on Tuesday, 2 in the morning, one at say 8:30, another at 10:30, then I'd have cases Wednesday afternoon from 1 to 3 o'clock spread out. So I'm just asking the court to basically kind of combine those, and with having them, what Painesville, and he knows this, what Painesville Municipal Court does, they schedule all their cases being trafficking criminal for pretrials. And they schedule them all at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, both at the same time. And they take them in order as they appear. I'm not necessarily having that, but I just like a little bit better scheduling so that I'm not there for a couple hours on Tuesday, or sometimes on Wednesday, sometimes on Wednesday afternoon throughout the week. For instance, last week I had 8 cases on Wednesday, spread out the whole day. The next week I had 9, the same way. This week I have just 2 tomorrow, but I have 15 on Wednesday throughout the whole day. Those can all be done in the morning, all within a few hours, couple hours. So that's a discussion that I'm having. I don't keep stats, and I can't tell you how many cases that I have for OMBIs, assaults, what have you. 95, probably 99% of them are traffic. We're also doing a great job with assisting the zoning department. Noel, our zoning inspector, is going after these individuals quite well. Nadine with the income tax department has a number of cases that we're pending collection on. As far as the zoning, we're not there to punish people, we're there just to see to it that whatever their violation is cleared up. We're not looking for money, we're just looking to get it taken care of, and that's worked pretty well, but there's a number of cases that are pending. As far as why the cases are up, I can't tell you, but it seems that whether it be the weather or whatever it is, maybe more people are contesting, I don't know, but the amount of cases the traffic has increased substantially over the last few months. As far as the solicitor's position is concerned, we have a number of cases that are going civil-wise, lawsuits that have been filed against the city. A couple of them are insurance cases. I still coordinate with the insurance attorney for those cases. I'd rather not go into what those are, except an executive session. One was just recently received this week, maybe it was Friday of last week. That's been turned over by my office to the insurance company, basically said the fire case. So we have a number of civil things going on too. I'm willing to meet with an executive in the future to keep you posted as to what they are, but I don't think it's appropriate now to talk about pending civil cases. I think we can either, they're ongoing. One involves police officer, one involves public records, two involve public records, of course. So that's where we are civil-wise. I can't tell you exactly how much time I've spent as a prosecutor, how much time I've spent as a solicitor. I just time in court more often, so perhaps obviously for the prosecution side, so obviously I spend more time as a prosecutor. But I work closely with Mr. Barquette, it's a great relationship. I meet with him on a fairly regular basis. Also with Nadine, which are no. So I'm here for questions. I don't know if there's anything further I can tell you or keep you advised, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
And Mr. Haspel, where are we at with the water tower discussions from a city perspective? And what is the timeline of those discussions, do you think, reasonably, or Mr. Barquette?
Well, Mr. Barquette, I think the answer is his discussions with Mr. Starkey. I've been to the meetings. I don't know if there's anything happened recently you can answer.
Yeah, the most recent, I think I acknowledged this at a recent meeting that I met with the County Department of Environmental Services, and the planning for that is ongoing. So what we scheduled was a meeting that involved the county's engineer as well as the city's engineer. And unfortunately, the city's engineer wasn't able to be present at that meeting, but nonetheless, the county's engineer had previously been the city's engineer for many, many years and was very much, familiar with our situation. So the questions that we put on the table, really evolved around what, really us understanding how much this investment has impact on our facility. our water distribution system. And, really looking, because the understanding of this contract is that, we're on the hook for 50% of the cost of such a planning of the project, which the planning of that project started a number of years ago. The planning for that project actually started before I even came on board here at the city of Geneva. But that being said, under this contract, again, supposedly we're on the hook for half the cost. So the purpose of the meeting was really to determine, how much of an impact that facility is going to have on our water distribution system. And, apparently the 50% is what Mr. Pasqualone and I have discussed, and how accurate is that. Where that is in the planning process is it's moving forward, and there's probably not, it's still been under design. I know they were back and forth on where the location was. They have acquired land. It's been determined that there probably won't be any effect to us until 2024 or possibly 2025. Looking at the breakout of what the funding sources are on that. One of the things that is in my report, which actually leads off my report, which has to do the water wastewater infrastructure grant program. We're back in that running for additional money, as is the county on that particular project, which would be significant for us, because if they were awarded any money under that, I think it's an additional $250 million that the governor put forward, would reduce any obligation that we would have, again, under this contract. So,
Is there an effort to renegotiate that agreement, or to, provide an end date, or an opportunity for renewal, or any of those things that?
Well, I can tell you that I wasn't here when that contract was entered into, so however, I have since reviewed, and I discussed it with Mr. Arquette and Mr. Starkey. The position I have taken, advised them, is that we'll be on the hook for that 50% of the building of the water tower. I don't believe that water tower construction includes what they state within that contract as far as 50%. So my opinion is we would fight that obligation if it came down to that. Well, the discussion, I think, that's ongoing has to do more, not so much with our paying that, but with what can be done as far as the rest of the contract is concerned. So, again, just in essence, my opinion is, no, I don't think we're going to get stuck with that.
But we need to do something with the contract in terms of updating it, or we have to, there's got to be some resolution to that, or some, correct? No question here. Yeah. And that's part of this process as well that we're undergoing.
right, that's correct. It really getting an understanding of where it's at, where it's moving, where it's at in the planning stage. There's also other terms within the contract that state that the city would be on the hook for 25%. How firm were these percentages when that are actually being touted? We don't know. I think that reflects
Just go back to that
position.
definition of planned maintenance, is that whole thing? Yeah, I don't.
Plan for some.
Yeah.
And as you
I
said,
don't
with the,
see a water tower, how would anybody interpret it that way?
It's not maintenance, yeah.
If it's not unplanned.
well, and again, with all the state funds and the flood of those dollars, hopefully that could just be offset with successful acquisition of money.
And again, just to be clear, with respect to the actual planning phase, not talking about any, financial obligation, but the engineer present confirmed that it was his belief that the impact of that power on our water distribution system would be significant.
Former engineer. and
Our former engineer, current county.
Former city team staff.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is that just in the payment of bills on that water tower, is that what that's for the design? Oh, no, it's the
That
same.
was part of the design that occurred back, that I believe the county had paid for previously, but it's going back to breaking out, splitting that cost. I believe it was like $10,000.
I didn't know if that, yeah, it was.
Yes.
I didn't know if that was part of that same water tower.
I have a separate question, or someone else does this. No, well, I have a separate question. Oh, I can. Oh, go ahead. Me?
The school contract?
I received a response my changes that came probably 3 weeks after the legal tour to the attorney, and that just came in last week. I passed it on to Chief Camper with suggestions. I just spoke with him tonight before I came in here. Things that we've got to where I can go back to them with, again, some changes, but minor, that I think will go along. So it's my hope that with my next reply, which will be tomorrow, with these changes, once I get Chief Camp, that we should get it resolved. They made some other, we had 2 issues that I felt were need to be addressed. Again, the other changes were minor that we could live with. So I think we're very close. Hopefully we're there, because if I go back to them with what I had suggested to the chief, I feel confident that they're going to go along. So we should be able to put into place a soon-to-be executed.
How does it renew the year contract?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The city of Cleveland last fall made an effort to, as a city, expunge low-level marijuana offenses, I think under 200 grams. Couldn't do it at first without state action. Governor DeWine signed Senate Bill 288. Within it included the okay from the state to look at giving local municipalities the ability to go through a process to expunge low-level marijuana cases. Is that something that you could just look at in terms of what that process might be? I don't think you can even start even presenting those caseloads till like April, based on when it was signed into law. But I think it's an interesting concept, certainly with medical marijuana being passed, with time being valuable for us in terms of how we're using our prosecutor time, our solicitor time. Is it best use of city resources, or is it too much? Is it too punitive to punish someone as we look back on maybe what was an issue that perhaps now doesn't look as severe as we thought then in terms of low-level marijuana cases? I just think it's an interesting thing that a city has the opportunity potentially to release somebody from in terms of expunging a record. I understand there are several steps, but I just didn't know how familiar you were with that. And
You're asking whether or not we should have a program to expunge or seal the records. That really is up to the individual defendant. However, the public defender's office offers a program.
no, the city can't. Cities can decide through a prosecutor now under this law to move forward and expunge cases for residents. So I'm not asking whether we should or not. I'm saying, do you understand what happened with Senate Bill 288? And do you understand the next steps in that process for city prosecutors to go through the steps of doing that?
I do. I know it. I'm very familiar with it. I don't think it's something that we need to expend our time on. However, it's not happening. Anything under 100 grams of marijuana isn't getting charged nowadays by our police officers. I've had this discussion with the officers. There's no reason to. There's too many defenses for it. It's not worth the effort time.
But this expungement would do previous cases that perhaps were prosecuted. And in fact, records that I got from a public record request from the previous Judge Fisher showed that you were overseeing some cases that were some minor, small drug cases in the last several years. So I just wonder again if it's something that as a council we can maybe think about, have an understanding of maybe that value that it provides, just future discussion perhaps for council. So.
Thank you, Mr. Pascal. That brings us to the citizens portion of the agenda. Are there any citizens wishing to address council at this time? Just say your name and address for the minutes, please.
Mrs. Lebowski, lot 289 Hanson.
Gotcha.
We have a water problem.
We've been here before, and they said they couldn't do anything about it. There's a creek, our property abuts the woods as you go down Ansel. That is owned out by a company that went and took the trees out. And then the lady, which we just got a petition to report wants to annex into the city of Geneva, and it's going to flood our property, and in fact.
So here's the last house on the left that you're driving down.
No, we're right at the curb next to what was the old bookhouse. I left it
On my street too.
that our property is a.
It's a little bit south of 20,
I live on
Can I
South
show you
here.
this?
right on the curve.
Okay.
What's my last name?
Oh, you're fine.
Okay, she wants to be buying, we're right here.
Oh, you're on that side, I
Yes.
see. Yep,
And
I got you.
she's annexing all of this.
Yes, that's all wooded there.
And right back here is the creek, which is filled in. It's filled in when they did all the new construction on, north, or south here. And plus the school, everything, we have aerial photographs where it's drainage, wards, everything comes down here. Now,
Yeah.
the gentleman who purchased this property also took out all the trees, and then he took, all the sawdust from, all the sawdust from that and elevated the ground, because they were simply making it up. When I go into my backyard, which we love to be here, we've been very happy here, we want to stay, we like to fix up our property, like go crazy with the plants in the back. The water is ankle deep in the backyard. Our lawnmower gets cut, it's such a mud.
Plus, we just spent quite a bit of money getting our basement done from Ohio
The
Basement.
waterproofing, yeah.
And the water is stagnant, and it sits there because there is so much moisture comes in from that creek. And we've seen the aerial photographs. The drainage from the high school, the new high school, the drainage from that development that's up on 84, all flows in. Now, from my understanding from Tim, who's the maintenance guy, the go-to guy,
Yeah.
he's walked that property several times now. And everybody agrees that that's a problem, but nobody wants to do anything about it. And that's what
There
irritates
was
me.
a drain back there supposedly. I've seen, we had a beautiful creek that was running in there. Now, our neighbors next door, her property is completely underwater up in that house.
Yeah.
All the houses on Ansel
Have soggy spots, but
are inundated with water problem. Evidently, the basin that is there, the retention basin, is insufficient and broken down and does not do what it's supposed to do. So we all, along South Neary and Ansel, that whole area, just a little bit north of the tracks, gets so much water in it that it's not funny. And it causes our property damage. You know, I had it.
kids don't have to.
Yeah. We can't use our yard.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I know the city has applied for a comprehensive stormwater plan. Now, you've applied before. When are we supposed to hear about that? If we got that or not?
Well, we haven't heard yet, but
Yeah.
we should probably hear it.
something has to be done with that.
Where's the retention basin you're talking about?
I personally don't know. Tim knows.
So I've always questioned at the school, because that's when, historically, I remember the discussion starting, or the issue starting along the tracks, but they have that retention or basin there at the school that never has a drop of water in it. If you've ever noticed, I don't understand that. But that is, as you're pulling in on the left, but I know Tim and Jim Pearson bought
Yeah.
that property years
Several
ago.
times.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see what.
And they even had a contract to take that all out
Behind you?
behind me. And there was a contract with one of the local guys. What's his-
So how long has this been going on? How long is,
We've been there 20 years.
Well,
how long is-
he's 10. But when we came before, they said there's nothing they can do because that is all Geneva Township. And,
Everything to the west, to the east
yeah,
of your
but now
property.
this
That
lady
is not
is.
so, from what I understand.
Everything to the east of your property is township.
Yeah, that's why that lady.
I heard it was annexed.
They
Well,
want to
that-
annex.
They
that
want to
in
annex
court
it, it hasn't been
municipal.
annexed yet, but that would be to the north of your property. Still along the road.
Because the people that were there to develop that, I don't know if Mr. Pascaline was part of that.
Was it?
Yeah. See, he probably knows a little bit. I tried to get a hold of people to mutually solve the problem,
See, here,
and
here.
I was not responded to. I was hung up on and stuff like that. I mean, I was not at the camera. And then I have to spend all this money for water damage in my basement. You know,
And.
to keep my house from flooding on a regular basis.
Yeah.
You know, I got 2 sump holes in my basement, 2 of them. And I had water backup, backup pump, 2 battery backup pumps.
So 15 years ago, this wasn't a problem? 10 years ago it was?
No.
I'm trying to get a time
About 15 years ago,
for when this
it
became a
started.
problem.
It started becoming a flooding problem for me and my neighbors.
Yes.
The property directly behind the house, I hate to say this, but was the house. They had it dug out when we first moved in there. It was swampy, but it was done like they were building a pool or doing a retention thing themselves. You have no idea who it was, all those people are deceased.
Yeah.
But that is filled in. We used to have herons in there and ducks and all that stuff. And now, it's just evading into that, if you try to walk that property, you can't. I mean, and I used to really worry, if young kids that were going to that house next door, they would cut through there. Well, that's dangerous, because you could get this deep into stuff and
Yeah.
not ever get out. Because like I said, it literally is up to my ankle. I have to go farmer boots, and the water is up to here when I try to walk in the backyard.
I think an immediate short-term thing, resource at least, is the Asheville County Soil and Water District. They will come out to your property for free and offer at least some suggestions in the short term. So that's at least someone you can call that would come out, Soil and Water District, and you can call them and they'll come out and walk your property and, you know, call on a rainy day or the day after and let them see. And at least they can provide some technical expertise in the short term. I also think, again, it behooves us, whether we get this stormwater grant or not, to again, to look at ARPA dollars or another way to get this comprehensive stormwater study done. I think you know, how many, we just have to make a call and do it. I think it's so much of a priority. Thirdly, I do have a quote that I passed along to Mr. Burkett, that as we're doing the review, the update of our ordinances for Chapter 12 of our code and ordinances that we got funded and are doing, the Chagrin River Watershed Partners would be willing to consult with us as we're finishing this process, specifically on riparian or wetland setbacks and language around, you know, what is kind of model ordinance language we should have in thinking from that environmental perspective or water perspective. And that might be, again, a technical view of those ordinances that might add value to that process that we're doing now. That again is maybe, I think it was several $1,000s, $3,000 to $5,000. I'm not minimizing that amount of money, but in the scheme of updating, if that provides us with the model type of ordinances that we want to look at for development or land with regard to riparian or wetlands, is it worth the investment when we hear all the problems that residents are
It's going
having.
to increase because our property is at the end of where that creek came. So it's going to keep building up as it goes down, you know, as that water spreads, it's gonna go up the other houses. And I know some of the houses are wet, but they're not like ours right here.
There used to be clay pipe that ran along that whole creek side. And that all failed, like clay pipe does, at the joints. And you could, it was definitive, you could walk out there and see where it failed. Now, the developers, whoever they are, mention anyone, had plans on developing that property, but now it's a wetlands. You know, it's pretty much unusable.
I hope the lady knows what she's getting, you know. We'd like to have a nice neighbor in there, that's not a problem. But I don't know that she knows that she has a plan of putting another house or something back there. She just wants privacy, but it's gonna be
It's unbuildable unless they do something.
Mr. Chairman.
right on the road.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Burkett.
If I could, again, I appreciate the background. What I would like to do is confer with Mr. Bittner, try to get, a background of what we know. Also, I want to look into this retention basin and find out what's going on with that. I'm not familiar with that.
He said it failed.
And that is concerning in itself, so, I'd like to follow up and look at that also. The point of Mr. Griffiths regarding, the soil and water, very generous with his time in coming out to Geneva and surveying various other problem areas that we have. It's been very helpful. So, and again, of course, yes, we're seeking, financial assistance to put our master stormwater management plan together. And it's going to happen. But in the meantime, I think what we need to do is really understand what's going on, just getting an understanding of the history. And I really want to look into this retention basin issue and find out what's going on with that.
And we had little or no storm drainage along our street. We have one, about 3 houses up, a storm drain that is not accessible by us yet. And
We just have.
we're willing to
we want
pay
to
for
restrict
that.
the culvert, and we're willing
Yeah.
to pay, gladly willing to pay for that much more.
You have all the ivy in front of your house.
Let's do a little research and then, we'll see what we can find out. We'll try to understand what we know and take it from there.
Because we have a huge investment in landscaping.
Yes, yeah, I
Yeah.
drive up there every day to go to work.
I mean, it used to be an empty lot pretty much, and we've gone in, and now all that stuff is dying off.
Yeah, even further north, like north of the parts that was looking to be annexed, those front yards are wet.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
when it rains, the street is flooded.
Yeah.
Because there's no drainage.
And ours is a big part of that. And like I said, we'll gladly, we'll pay for the sewer line in front of ours, we don't expect to be doing that. But that space back there actually seems like it would be a great place for a retention pond,
Yeah.
and then run the line out to the sewer, the overflow to the sewer line. But that's just dumb way.
Retention basin, I believe, is south of the railroad tracks. It's not a problem. Problem lies north of the railroad tracks. It is Geneva Township property. Geneva Township property.
Yeah, but again, I think, if we're pursuing, does Geneva Township have a master stormwater management plan, comprehensive plan? I don't know, I'm asking. No, I mean, if we're gonna go down that road, maybe you partner with an adjacent community like them and say, hey, if we're gonna do it, would you wanna also do it, so that you're having even more of a comprehensive study done at
And
that
have
time?
to, because it wouldn't do any good to do work in the city property, and where the problem lies in the township property.
yeah.
Well, there are problems in the city as well. We can't just put the blame on all the city stormwater on somebody else. We don't have a plan. We constantly have residents here talking about our lack of a plan. So, I mean, that is a problem, and so it is our problem.
Yeah, because the drainage came through my property, right behind my property. And like I said, there was multiple times I tried to talked with the property owners behind me in the township, and I didn't get any cooperation at all. And I was willing to invest my money, and there was no cooperation at all. And it's direct result of the building that went on with the construction that went on with the new high school, and for that development, that new development that's up there on 84.
The new houses were just on the north side track.
And I don't know if there was any study, the city manager can tell me that, about the, because there's a formula for runoff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's something that we could take up with the soil and water to try to get more specifics.
Yeah, well,
With respect to that.
my opinion is that should have been done a long time ago. You know, why
Well,
wasn't
what I
that
can
done
commit to
initially?
now is, I mean, we're gonna look into, find out what we know, again, I know you've indicated Mr. Bittner's been back there, we'll try to understand what we know, what we're aware of. Again, I do want to look into this retention basin a little further, and, we can take it from there. Soil and water, I think, that's a great idea to get that involved as well, but, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, they don't want to touch it.
Well, but
We just have to
I
understand
know their
what's going
staff,
on,
though,
so-
Suzanne Westlake and Mr. Paskey, they've said they're funded through the county, and one of their reasons, their jobs, is they will go out to anyone's property and provide their opinion. And so they have said that, and they have gone,
Give us directions what to do.
at least in the short term.
Okay. So we'll get with Tim and follow up.
Try to get background and understand what we know, where we at, what we know of the situation currently.
Okay.
Evaluating that as well.
Because I can get a petition on, all my neighbors are kind of like irate about the water. Yeah. I know I am,
Yeah.
and we spent a lot of money on that property.
So, I don't know if you want to give us your phone number, or
Oh, yeah.
you don't have to say it in public if you don't want, but we'll follow up with you at a later
As
time.
long as you follow up.
Yeah, so, okay, very good.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for letting us know about that.
Thank you.
Any other citizens wishing to address council? Seeing none, that moves us to our city manager's report. Mr. Barquette, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Starting off with update on the water and wastewater infrastructure grant program. As I've indicated in my report, we previously submitted applications seeking financial assistance on both West Main, which was construction dollars, and Austin Road lift station. This replacement project is something that we've needed to get done for some time, and we submitted a grant for design work on that. Initially, the first time around, our applications were not chosen for funding. But again, as we discussed just a few minutes ago, there's an additional, the governor put forward an additional $250 million. And I put here projects that were passed initially. I initially submitted is what I meant to say. So in this case, what we did, we submitted updates to our original applications. And they're only considering those projects that were submitted the first time. I think that's the very positive aspect of this situation for us. So, I think that enhances our, potential of getting our projects funded. So again, just as a reminder for West Main, the infrastructure upgrade, this is a construction grant for $3 million. And again, that would reduce significantly, we did a lot of discussion about the WPCLF loan. If we come through with this amount of funding, or even a portion of that funding, we'd be able to reduce that WPCL loan significantly. And of course, the other aspect of our submittal or resubmittal of updates is the Austin Road lift station. Again, that's for design work. So fingers crossed. We'll hopefully, I'm not sure what the timing is on that, but hopefully we'll hear something on that in the near future. And as we discussed also, if that does happen, again, that could open up our ARPA dollars, because as you know, we've been really holding off on those as a result of what we believe is going to be, would have, based on the funding sources that we had on the original project, the West Main, prior to reducing it the way as we did recently, it appeared that there was a funding gap. So, that could very much free up ARPA dollars to go other areas. A couple other updates. Street Department, you might have noticed already the new road markers. We did receive those for Section 2, which is over here on the north side of town. And as the department has the ability to start replacing those, they've already started putting some of them up, and we'll continue to do that as we're able to. Also, an achievement within the police department. I'm very proud to announce, and I'm glad the chief and captain are back with us as well, but very proud to announce that the Geneva Police Department has achieved a Group 1 certification for the Ohio Collaborative. And again, this is put through by the Ohio Department of Public Safety's Office of Criminal Justice Services. And just to give you an idea of what this means, in fact, the city of Geneva receiving this certification is the only department in Ashtabula County. A little background, per a press release by the Ohio Collaborative, is the Collaborative was formed in 2015 to create uniform minimum standards for Ohio's law enforcement agencies. The first two standards were developed by the Collaborative in 2015 to improve the trust between citizens and law enforcement officers. So it involves a number of things. It addresses community engagement, bias-free policing, body-worn cameras, vehicular pursuits, and it goes on and on and on. So again, we believe it's a significant achievement, and I can tell you that Chief Camper is dedicated to the general philosophy behind the Ohio Collaborative, and it confirms our drive and commitment towards constant improvement and holding ourselves to the highest standards possible. So I don't know, Chief, if there's anything further you'd like to...
No, you said it all. It's something I started working on shortly after I got here, and I was finally able to get that Group 1 done. And Group 2 is going to take a little bit more work on my part, but I'm looking forward to getting it, hopefully by the end of the year. So, thank you, Mr. President.
But we're the only police department that has that in Ashtabula County?
In Ashtabula County, yes, sir.
That's fantastic. It's a good thing on you, Chief. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
I have full faith that you'll reach Group 2.
Do my best.
As do I. Yes, thank you, Chief. Fire prevention code update, and again, here Chief Shook presented me with some proposed language to update the current code. And again, I now presented to Mr. Pascalone, and I know that he's already, as I indicated, depending on how that interaction goes, well, I think he's already prepared it. I think he's already got it done. What we'd like to do is get this proposed updated language to council so that the plan is to present it to you at the next meeting, so you can have a chance to review it and go from there. I think the updates are important, but we can get into that further. I just wanted to put that on your radar. I wasn't certain that Mr. Pascalone would have it already prepared, but he did present it tonight. But the plan is to get it on your radar so we can get it on the agenda for you to take a look at the next meeting. And again, that's just an ongoing effort to make adjustments, make sure that we're up to date on our code. Just a couple FYIs to finish. The Geneva Chamber Business Expo is this Thursday evening. It'll be held at the Geneva High School, and it will be running from 5 to 7 p.m. And the city will actually have a couple of tables at the expo. Safety services will be represented, our police and fire departments, and they'll be there talking about various things. And the city administration also will be there, and represented by a number of departments. And so a number of department heads will be in position to converse with the public, and the plans to present a number of various handouts for the public as well. Just trying to be providing additional community outreach. And finally, as I like to say, think spring, which is right around the corner, Waste Management has indicated that, that's our, of course, city sanitation service provider, that the city's 2023 spring cleanup will be Southfield, right around the corner.
Awesome. I have a couple things, Mr. Barquette. One is, are we going to see again that donation for those trees transferred now that we have our finance person? I don't think we've seen that donation kind of received and transferred into the street department so that we can get those 8 street trees purchased. And the Shade Tree Commission has attempted to reach out to Mr. Bittner to solidify a date for that planting, since that was pushed back from the fall. And any assistance that we can have in trying to pin down a window of time when that can happen would be greatly appreciated.
Well, first of all, we don't have our finance person yet.
Oh, yeah, not yet, fingers crossed.
No,
Go on, Jason.
our finance director is joining us a week from today, on February 20th. But yeah, we know that needs to take place. That money is set aside. That money will go to the purchase of those trees, and as I understand, are already marked.
Yeah.
So,
Just want to make sure that it doesn't get pushed back to the fall again, then we get that done in the spring.
that is the plan that I have.
And then my secondary question is, I'm sure everyone's aware of the chemical spill and controlled burn, explosion, whatever happened in East Palestine, about 80 miles, or about an hour and a half from here, 89, about 90 miles from here. I mean, it's a really enormous environmental disaster that is happening, and it's not too far away from us. Have you had any discussions with the Asheville County Department of Public Health? I reached out, they did not get back to me, but are we getting any updates from a municipality perspective? Because my understanding is that some of the vinyl chloride has gotten contaminated in the Ohio River. Those are the early reports, and it is vicious stuff. And I just, being not too far away, I wonder, are we getting any updates from the Department of Public Health? Or what is their process of monitoring that current disaster that's happening?
Yeah, Chief Shook has taken the lead on this, and the chief and I have been in numerous discussions, and even to the point of looking at working in various training exercises going forward in cooperation with the county. The county's been very involved, very actively on top of this tragedy, and we're right there as well. So again, the Chief Shook is the one that's taking the lead on that. And because, again, short of any type of criminal activity, the fire chief would lead that.
Yeah, I think if
situation.
any communication that, to me, the Asheville County Department of Public Health could put out, I think would probably be informative for residents here, just because it is so close, and so that if you or the chief are in any discussions with them, I don't think it hurts to at least present some sort of information to the public. Because I'm sure people have questions hearing the news and watching things. So, thank you. She had a question.
Do they have to tell you when they're bringing something significantly toxic through on the line,
Is the railroad?
railroad?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Do they have to tell you, notify you if they're sending a particularly difficult material through, something that is really dangerous? Do they have to
Not
tell
that
you?
I'm aware of, and I don't believe that
They are the
requirement
tracks.
exists.
It's not a requirement, however, it's that severe, the EMS pipe that is head of the emergency services here, he's on top of it. He's an excellent person to have as the leader of the EMS. He would know, he would be advised.
But you're not certain if they are. You're saying.
It's not on a regular basis.
Okay.
I mean, it's not every, it's not, there's no folder.
I understand, yeah, they don't have to, yeah. But to answer her question, we don't know if they do or not. We have a good emergency management person, you're saying perhaps they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no definitive information.
Where is he out of?
Jefferson, his office is in Jefferson, not in the courthouse, it's in a separate building.
And the city of Geneva pays to be able to have them as our emergency management entity. Asheville County. Or we have an agreement or a contract.
Thank you, Mr. Barquette. That brings us to items for consideration of council. First up is ordinance number 3323, an ordinance amending chapter 266, Civil Service Commission, section 266.03, section F of the Geneva Codified Ordinances, declaring an emergency. We did a first reading January 23rd. Is there a time constraint on this, Chief Camper?
There's no time constraint, but the sooner the better.
The sooner the better.
Yes, sir.
With that being said, this could be a second reading unless someone wants to make a motion to waive the rule of 3 readings. So we can just get this passed.
I think it's appropriate to have a second reading, that way, if there's no immediate time frame.
So
You're saying we have a second reading,
Yeah.
just leave it at that?
Yeah.
leave this as a second reading and have a third reading and pass
So
it
you
to
don't
the
have
third
a motion
reading.
for that?
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Then we'll leave it as a second reading then. Next up is Resolution 3565, resolution declaring the Council of the City of Geneva's statement of intent to reallocate unused sidewalk improvement program funding. This is our third reading. We talked about passing this as an emergency, Mr. Griffiths.
We don't need to.
We could just pass it as is, and it would take effect 30 days from now. So, not emergency, just a roll call on passage. When you're ready, Phyllis.
Bear,
Yes.
Griffiths,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Cordova,
Yes.
Arvo,
Yes.
Rosebrook.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 3568, a resolution stating that city services shall be provided to the territory consisting of 5 3/4 acres on Ansel Road, Geneva Township, Asheville County, Ohio, owned by Michelle Gamble within 30 days of the approval of annexation by Asheville County Commissioners and to declare an emergency. This is that parcel that we talked about annexing in. I don't think there was any objections to it. We discussed it and a water issue, but she's,
I have a question on that. Is there gonna be a determination on the water runoff at that parcel?
it would have to be done to build on the property. That's right, Mr. Pascal.
Geez, their intentions are to build a home.
Yeah, so that would all have to be done to get permission to
Is it
build.
a submersible?
So, no, that's fine. Can I have a motion to waive the rule of 3 readings?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call on the waiver, please.
Tara,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Cordova,
Yes.
Arvo,
Yes.
Rosebrook,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Griffiths.
Yes.
I have a motion to declare the resolution an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call on emergency.
Baker,
Yes.
Cordova,
Yes.
Arvo,
Yes.
Rosebrook,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Griffiths,
Yes.
Tara.
Yes. And a roll call on passage, please.
Cordova,
Yes.
Arvo,
Yes.
Rosebrook,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Griffiths,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Sorry, I had to hear.
Yes.
My voice went out, and I didn't know.
Oh, I got it.
We have one more ordinance. This is a surprise ordinance tonight on the agenda, but ordinance 3325. This is an ordinance authorizing the city manager and the director of finance to sign checks on behalf of the city and declaring an emergency. This is to get Tracy approved so that we're onboarding as fast as possible. She can hit the ground running. And that would take effect on the 20th of February.
And is Tammy's authority, would that then end on the 20th or 7th? For the 7th, though?
So, can I have a motion to waive the 3 readings rule for that one?
So moved.
Second.
Mayor and Barbo. roll call on the waiver, please.
Lucas,
Yes.
Terra,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Cordova.
Yes.
Arlo,
Yes.
Roseborough,
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
I have a motion for the emergency, please.
Moved. Second.
Roll call on emergency.
Terra,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Cordova,
Yes.
Arlo,
Yes.
Roseborough,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Yes.
And a roll call on passage, please.
Baker,
Yes.
Cordova.
Yes.
Arlo,
Yes.
Roseborough,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Terra.
Yes. That brings us to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business that anyone has? Any new business to come before council this evening?
Chip, we've had a discussion before, I just want to make sure that council's aware that we're going to be having a meeting about, budgets. I can wait for committee reports.
Okay.
We're going to have a meeting about the Puerto Rico Day, basically, coming up, and I just wanted to make sure that I put it out there, it wasn't forgotten about.
Okay, very good.
Planning of a potential festival that was talked about and how that might look.
Yeah, very nice. Any other new business? Any questions on the bills, payment of bills?
Yeah, I've got, every time,
Go for it.
you guys are doing so great, Chief. I loved it, the fact that, you actually put in prisoner food and supplies. That was great. So it wasn't just a operating cost. And then, I see again, operating costs or operating supplies that if we can sit there and say, we bought a paintbrush for $6.99, but then we have operating supplies for $16.76. I know it sounds petty, but can we do away, and this, Mr. Marquette, can we get people to do away with the term operating supplies and start us, and I don't think that was you guys, I think that was wastewater.
That's the name of the budget line. is
I know,
operating supplies.
can we get rid of that,
That-
I think the way that report is generated, that would still appear on that report because that's the budget for those items. Does that make sense?
but if they can sit there and say a paint roller, then why can't they say what those operating supplies are? That's my
I want to
point.
elaborate, but I would say that different things come from different budgets within the departments.
Understand.
You know,
I mean, that's under the same, it's under the same subsection that has, paint, roller paint remover and polish, concrete and vinyl cleaner, and then just two generic items. And I just wish we could do away with the generic reporting. That's all I'm asking for. Obviously, no one's going to be able to tell me what it is, but I just.
Operating supplies.
Yeah, which is what, though?
Supplies that we use to operate. No, I understand what you're saying, though. Again, I think, I can't answer your question right now. It depends, it's about the accounting. All items generally fall under operating supplies, cleaning supplies, or what it is, a whole slew of types of products, that we use, for operations. So how it comes out that way, yeah, we can look into it, but again, it's the accounting system, which is why it comes out that way.
I understand, and we're a lot better this time. I think last month, I didn't make the last meeting. The one before, there was like $700 worth of operating supplies. And this time, I think it's, probably right around 100. So it's a lot better.
In cases like that, you'll see that at the beginning of the year because, we really do kind of hold off there at the end of the year. And,
Right.
We will kind of replenish early on. But, yes, again, I know we have already, we have talked about it, but I think that's what you're referring to is more part of the actual accounting system. I'll look into it.
Understand. Like I said, to me, I see it, and if anybody did go on the payment of bills and we're seeing this, they're just going to go, well, what is an office supply? If it's pens and paper, I understand, but I just have a problem with the generic term when I see it a lot. That's all.
My feeling is if somebody questions it, we'll answer it at that time.
it's Giant Eagle, bill. Are we gonna list every item that's on the receipt?
No, but if
Just
it was-
at some
if it
point
was
becomes
food-
counterproductive to what our staff and administration's trying to do here.
Right, but if it was food at Giant Eagle, food is a valid thing.
Yeah, but at $89 or $90, I'm sure 6 items were food, there were plastic bags. I don't really see this being an issue at every meeting that we have to have this discussion, quite honestly. And sorry to say it that way, but I think we waste time. If you have a concern that somebody's really pushing things through or spending money foolishly, then that's a discussion to have. But if it's just kind of raise the same question time and time again, if somebody, one of our citizens questions it, then I'm sure somebody will take the time to answer it at that time.
I have faith in our department heads. They are being good stewards of our money and, I appreciate
I do too,
I appreciate
but I'm
those
just
points,
going
so, point
Transparency.
Yeah, thank you both for your opinion, so. Anyone else on the bills? Move on to committee reports? Any committee reports?
Yeah, I passed out year-end Northwest ambulance,
Yeah, I saw that.
and it shows where, for last year, there were up almost 200 calls, and the city of Geneva was up a little over 100 of those calls. So it was just a breakdown, shows you how many times Austinburg, Geneva, Harpersfield, Drummond. It just gives us an idea of what's going on in that.
Yeah, I love this report, Bob. Thank you.
Very busy, very busy out there.
Yeah. Did they discuss at all what they attribute to those increase of calls? Is it any certain demographic, like are seniors or anything else, or repeat calls? Or?
They don't. No, they don't break it down. They do break it down on the type of call, as far as, whether it was motor vehicle accident, shortness of breath, that type of thing.
But there's no direct attribution they have to the increase per se, other than just...
Well, COVID was a big part of it for everybody. And that also, besides handling our emergency calls, goes to, it showed last year, they went to 28 different events. And varsity football, great jamboree, Cork Elementary walkathon. There's a number of things that shows up to make sure that people are safe if they need medical help. It's there. But I wanted to share that with you.
Thank you very much.
I'd say Vince Gildone and that, what a service, what a benefit to our community, and they probably need to be praised more than they are, but it's, I don't want to say unrecognized, but sometimes unspoken, so pass that on.
And what they do that isn't in a report is major too. So yeah, we're very fortunate to have them.
Great. Any other committees to reports? That brings us to the second citizens portion. Any other citizens wishing to address council at this time? Seeing none, can I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.